I'm Ashutosh Pandey. I'm in final year 3-year LB from Bharati Vidyapeeth. And I joined law for the sole purpose of specializing in corporate law. And but to be after I joined law, I had learned that I have to be specific also in the corporate law. I have to be specific in a specific field, like competition law, IPR. So I chose merger and acquisition as my specialization. The first year I was joined for the sole purpose of getting insight into the legal world, not especially corporate law, litigation, or any legal experience. But I faced the challenge that getting an internship in corporate law is very difficult because they require an inbuilt knowledge, an inbuilt system that they have to just accommodate to their firm's needs, not teach corporate law itself, even though we have subjects in our colleges, corporate law, Competition Act, mergers, acquisitions, and IPR, everything. But we don't get to know the practical side. Like we know competition law, we have studied IPR, but how to file IPR and how to get better filing of these IPRs. Nobody teaches that, and the firm requires an insight knowledge only on the practical side. For 2.5 years, I had quite trouble getting internships. And at the moment I joined LawSeekers merger and acquisition course, I had no internship. So I was sitting idle at home. That's why I joined. I joined the course for the sole purpose, like I'll join this course, and at least for the next time I apply for internship, I'll have some knowledge, some insight into the field. Even though they would call me for interviews, every time they would ask, why merger and acquisition and why corporate law? And when I would answer that it's my interest, they would ask practical questions and questions that were out of my depth. For example, have you ever seen a shareholder agreement? Have you drafted a hypothecation agreement? Have you ever seen the hypothecation agreement? Do you know how the banking law coincides with other civil laws in the country? And I was quite blank at that time to these concepts, to these questions, and how to form an answer that would be acceptable or that would be adaptable to each and every firm's specializations. So I had quite a trouble in connecting to internships that way. And I had no help in the connections of whatever, because I'm first generation lawyer in my family. Yeah, ma'am. Earlier, when I would go on interviews or I would have telephonic interviews, the HR or the person interviewing me led the conversation always. He would start with me like from corporate contract law to each and every SEBI regulation code. He decided that the area that he would like to talk in. But after I joined this course, I've got help from many of the teachers, Abudaya sir, Komil Shah ma'am. They would answer all my queries, even the silliest queries. So after learning the course about in depth about these concepts, from first joint ventures, from private equity matters and everything, and the financial thing as well as the legal due diligence that we learn in the course. After that, I led the conversation and I was quite confident about myself. Earlier, I would get blank at some questions, but when I led the conversation during these interviews, I knew where it would be leading. Like Abudaya sir always, asked us to even read books relating to M&A and be aware about the M&A news also. So it was quite interesting to see when I led the conversation, he did not dig into concepts that were really like I'm just a student right now. I'm with no practical knowledge. So he did not go any uncharted territory that was very new for me when I led the conversation. That's why that could have been the seal the deal this time. Yeah. Ma'am, actually, I was searching for M&A internship for quite a bit after learning a few things in the M&A course. I'm currently interning in an insolvency professional entity under insolvency and bankruptcy code. Uh, then I started looking for M&A because even though IBC is very dear to me right now, but the end game is always a merger and M&A department for me. And this internship at Bhatia Legal Associates, it came up, and they gave me. I applied to them. I wrote a letter and sent my resume, and they asked me to solve questions, three questions relating to M&A as well as other corporate laws. And if they would like the assessment, they would contact me. But the three questions were relating to competition law. One was relating to Lotteries Act, and one was joint venture, regarding joint venture and a consortium agreement. And the good thing was that the joint venture agreement and the competition law, Shweta ma'am and Abudaya sir have grilled us in both the topics. I've asked my doubts relating to consortium. I did not know what a consortium agreement was. I asked Abudaya sir, I bugged him for like 3 days to teach me this. And Shweta ma'am, she taught me about the I did not know the merger control part of the competition law, only the antitrust agreements and dominating positions. So she taught me merger control. So at the first sight, I knew the both of the questions. I knew how to. I knew the direction. I just had to research the material, research the case laws, and make a quite summary of these things. But I did not have to struggle with those concepts. I did not have to Google what is a consortium agreement and how a joint venture forms. How do the parties to a joint venture form a contract? Because I've learned that already in the exercises in the course. And the third was Lottery Act. It required a little bit of research, but I got it done. And after I submitted my assessment, they took a telephonic interview and then one face-to-face interview with the Delhi head. And they asked me questions about they asked me mixed questions, including IBC as well as the corporate laws. And I was not blank at any point except for NCLT filings. And that's the only question that I got in difficulty in answering. Otherwise, it was a smooth interview. Ma'am, I would like to answer your question by stating this. If you want insight into the concepts, like into any law, particular field of law, then the college, the books and the curriculum, college curriculum is enough for getting insight to the law part. The law part is colleges are good at it, but if someone wants a practical insight, everybody knows we go to NCLT and NCLT matters handles the company matters. But for example, LawSeco has also a course in IBC. But how do we make a status report? How do we file a status report in NCLT? How do we e-file, and how do we personally file in NCLT? No college teaches us that. And same is with the M&A course. Nobody teaches us to draft an amalgamation scheme. And even these terms, they are alien to the students. So my curiosity in the course was at least 1 year earlier than I joined, but I was quite unsure about it. But later, when I came to know, I talked to the people at LawSeco, and I came to the knowledge what the course curriculum is. And the first agenda on the course was, relating to drafting of a JV agreement and specific clauses. So that was quite interesting for me, and that's the main thing that the law graduates now have to struggle with. We graduate after 3 or 5 years, but we have just a bookish knowledge. We don't have any practical knowledge. And LawSeco not only gives us the practical knowledge, it gives us connections to it as we learn from the best. We learn from people who have worked in these places. Now we are trying to get in. So they know what is the behavior of these firms and how can we adapt ourselves? How can we make ourselves desirable to these firms to get hired there? Ma'am, one more thing, the teachers are available at any time. That's quite an good thing about the about Law Seco, because there are various students across India, and they have schedules, various schedules, and we have, we get internship applications at, various odd hours, and we call up these teachers, we WhatsApp them. They are never reluctant to, or they never ignore our calls or messages. They always respond, and they always, uh, sit with us, discuss the problem, and they only, they are only done with us when the question is done. They don't, back out of it like, you lead from here. They give us full queries, like full, they answer our full queries. That is the best thing about this course.